I just bought myself a brand new Winsor and Newton visual diary, and I'm going to fill it with all the things I love. One of the things I love are little fairy wrens, and we've got them living down the back of our property. And the other day I managed to get a few photos of them. So my very first painting in my visual diary is a little fairy wren. So today I'm going to show you how I painted this little guy. Okay, so here's the reference photo that I took. It's not a great photo, his tail's a bit blurry, but it'll work for what I want. So I'm just finishing off the details of the drawing now. And the first thing I want to do is just wet his breast area with some water. So where all the dark blue feathers are, that's where I wet. And now I'm dropping in some indigo onto the wet paper. I just wash it all over his little breast area. And then while that's wet, I can drop in some ultramarine blue and some Winsor violet. And I just let the colours merge on the paper. And this is Payne's grey. I need a darker edge along the bottom. So I've just switched to a bigger brush just to blend the colours more. Okay, so I'm painting some water on the dark feathers on the head. And this is indigo again. Just painting it onto the damp paper. I go all the way to his beak. And then I can drop in some Payne's grey while that paint is still wet. The Payne's grey just blends with the blue. Now I'm just running a clean wet brush along that line there just to make the colour bleed down onto his belly area a little bit. Now I'm wetting his tummy with water, and I'm dropping in a grey, sort of a bluey grey that I mixed from burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Now I'm dropping in some Winsor violet while that's still wet. And a little bit of Van Dyke brown here and there. And this is cerulean blue up on his head and also on his cheek patch. And I keep the paint light in value at this stage. I'll darken the colour later. Now I just want to deepen the colour on his breast area, so I'm wetting it with water. This is Payne's grey along the bottom edge there. A little bit more Payne's grey here. And now I'm using ultramarine blue. Just dropping it onto the wet paper. Just increasing that brown area with some sepia. Now I'm just using some water just to soften the brush strokes. Painting the iris around the pupil in some sepia with my liner brush. And the bottom beak is lamp black, just painting on damp paper. I deepen the colour along the bottom edge. Now that the iris is dry, I can come back in and paint the pupil with lamp black. And I paint around the edge in the grey that I mixed for his tummy area. Some indigo on his top beak. Now I'm using a Pima waterproof black pen just to deepen the colour on his pupil and make it a bit larger. Deepening the colour on his head now with some more of the cerulean blue. I'm just painting in around those feathers that I drew. Rubbing off my pencil lines and washing over some more cerulean blue just to deepen the colour slightly. Some watery sepia on the wing feathers. And some more cerulean blue at the top of his wing. Just wetting the tail feather now with water. And this is a mix of indigo and ultramarine blue. Painting straight onto the damp paper. Now I'm dropping in some Winsor violet just to add interest. I'm removing some paint now, just while the paint's still wet. Just wiping my brush on a tissue, just to create a highlight. Painting in this tail feather the same way I did the other one. And dropping in the violet again. This is indigo, I'm running along the edge. And around the tip of the tail as well. Just dropping in some water now to create some watercolour blooms. Just painting some grey onto the inside part of his wing there. And some indigo up here. Just speeding this area up. This is the wing feathers. I'm just painting sepia on dry paper here. Just using my liner brush to keep my lines fine. Little bit of water at the back there so that I can wash on some watery sepia. A little bit there as well. Just running a little bit of lamp black up the side there. And now that the tail feathers have dried, I can wash in this other one. So I used indigo first, and now this is Payne's Grey. And I've just washed in this one as well with the indigo. Just dropped some Winsor violet and some Payne's Grey at the top. Just pulling a few little wispy feathers over the top of the wings. This is just lamp black. And now I'm adding some extra wing feathers just with some more sepia. It's a bit darker this time. And deepening the colour down in here with sepia. I've just wet this feather with water and I'm running some Payne's Grey down the edge just to create a shadow where one feather sits on top of the other. Just wash these little feathers in here with some indigo. And now I'm using a deeper indigo mix just to deepen around the edges of them. A little bit of lamp black on my brush now. Just painting some little wispy feathers. And lamp black again in here, just deepening just in there. Now I've wet underneath here with water, and this is Winsor Violet. I'm just washing it over the feathers. Now it's time to do the branch. I'm just wetting the branch in between his legs there. And this is the grey that I've mixed with burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I'm just washing it on. And I leave little areas of white paper showing. So I'm not covering the whole thing. Now I'm dropping in some burnt sienna with my liner brush, just here and there. And I do the same thing with the violet. Wet this section up here with water. And I do the same thing. The grey mix first. And then a bit of the burnt sienna. So other than burnt sienna, I'm just reusing the same colours that I used on the bird. Dropping in the violet. And now the burnt sienna. Okay, so there's my branch. Now I need to do the feet, so I'm just putting a little bit of water on the first toe, and this is burnt sienna. Burnt sienna on this little toe, and then a little bit of sepia, just to deepen the colour. You can bring the claw in with the sepia as well. This is burnt sienna again, working on damp paper. And some watery sepia. That's watery sepia as well. A little bit deeper now with the sepia. Just drawing his little foot back in. This is Winsor Violet on his leg. And a little bit of Payne's Grey down the side. Some burnt sienna on his toe, and now I'm just dropping in a little bit of the Winsor Violet. So burnt sienna again. Painting on dry paper here, this is the claw in sepia. Some burnt sienna. And then the Winsor Violet on this front claw. So I've used the same colours on the feet that I used on the body. Okay, so now I need a shadow beside the foot. This is watery Winsor Violet. Another one in there. And one up beside this foot. Just painting on dry paper. So here is my finished fairy wren. Ta-da! If you'd like to do some of my classes, I've got 8 classes over on Skillshare at the moment, and I'll be adding 5 more new classes this year. I've put a link to my website in the description of this video. If you go and have a look, you can click on classes in the top menu, and that will take you to a page that's got lots more information about these classes. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, then let me know in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe, because I'll be putting new videos on every single week. I'm here to help you with everything I know about watercolour. So thanks guys, I'll see you next time. Make sure you subscribe. One of the things I love are fairy wrens, and we've got them living down the back of our property. And the other day I managed to get a few, can you hear the black cockatoos? What was I talking about? Fairy wrens. Okay, one of the things I love are fairy wrens.